Hello, let's talk about some of my July favorites. Favorites, empties, a recap, just things that I really liked in July that I want to share. So I've been keeping an ongoing list of things that I really enjoyed throughout the month. July is likely my favorite month, probably because it's my birthday month, and I feel like it's the first month of summer for a lot of people, at least for me. School ended at the end of June, and we would have July as like the first exciting month of summer. And I feel like by August, it was a lot of back to school prep. I know that's not the case everywhere. I know a lot of people go back to school in August, or like elementary school and things. But here in Ontario, that's what we did. I'm trying to spend more time outside, just enjoy the summer, do all the things. But in that same process, there are a lot of things that I've just been thinking about and I want to share. I've really been enjoying Mickey Galvin's style of video, and that is very much what this is inspired by. I love that she does these little talking heads and then like chats through what she's searching for. I'm someone who Googles everything just to kind of see what I can learn about it. So I like the idea of watching that process happen. So that's what's going on here. We're going to start with beauty. I had a couple of beauty favorites. I think we'll start with some of my empties. So in terms of the empties, I really enjoyed the Skin 1004 toner. I think that's how the brand is pronounced. I love a boring toner, okay? I think a boring toner is one of the best types for my skin. The one I'm talking about in particular is the Tone Brightening Boosting Toner. The key ingredients are centella, niacinamide, and glycerin's in there, ascorbic acid. Everything just works well for me. It says it's mildly exfoliating. I wouldn't say that it is exfoliating in the sense of what you maybe are expecting, but the niacinamide definitely helps with brightening and things. It's a great, just very basic toner that I feel like is still quite hydrating in my opinion. And any kind of these very unassuming looking toners that just look like water, I know I'm gonna like. Are gonna play well with me. A sleeper hit for me were these Indeed Labs vitamin C brightening drops. I really liked these and I didn't expect to. They look unassuming again. I feel like that kind of almost medical looking skincare tends to be something that I prefer. But for vitamin C in particular, I know there are a lot of conversations online about how you need to store your vitamin C. I don't know if this is the best way to store your vitamin C, but I did find it worked well for my skin. And for the price, I think it was a fair buy. Now, an empty that I will always repurchase is the Embryolisse Lac Creme Sensitive Moisturizer. This is the best moisturizer. I love it. I like the original too, but the sensitive one I think just tends to be lighter on my skin, and in the summer I definitely want that. It's just the perfect base under makeup. It makes your skin look so glowy and hydrated. I remember watching the sisters that ran Real Techniques, Nick and I can't remember the other sister's name, but they used to always use this in their YouTube videos. That's how far back I'm going, when they used to make tutorials. And it just looked so beautiful and it was the perfect base. So when I started using it, I really was inspired by them, and every time I use it I think of them, which is so funny how things stay in your brain. But if you're looking for a good light moisturizer, I definitely recommend this one. It lasts long enough in my opinion, and I always get it on sale every couple weeks. They knock the price down by like $10 or so. So it is a steep price, I will say, especially if you're not used to spending money on skincare like that, but I do think it's well worth the amount. I also really like the Dew moisturizer. I can't remember what it's called, but I can't get it in Canada that easily, and I think it is like price-wise comparable to that one. Yeah, the Instant Angel moisturizer. This one is incredible. If you like Embryolisse, you'll probably like this, and if you like this, you'll probably like Embryolisse. But I think this is an incredible product. It's just very difficult to get in Canada, and and it's $63, which I support the brand. I just can't always justify the price in that way. But I do use the turnkey that it came with, which I don't know if they talk about here. But when I ordered it, it came with a turnkey to get the product out, and I use that with all my aluminum tubes. Other beauty mentions, especially for the summer, I'm very fortunate. I was able to go on 2 trips earlier in the spring summer, and I had a wicked tan, especially after Mexico. I haven't really spent much time outside since, and because I'm using lotions and potions on my face, my tan faded quite quickly. But I have been doing a little bit of maintenance with the Salty Face tanning water. This is the best self tanner that I've ever used. I bought it a couple years ago. I repurchased it, or I did like a refill. I guess it was this year, maybe in the winter when I was at my palest and just needed something to get me through. And I really like it. I think it's great. I use the spray top to spray it onto the brush that it came with, because I got the kit. So I ended up getting like the full body kit the first time I ordered. And so I used the spray top with the brush, and I really just apply it like how I would apply a bronzer across like the 3E method. Again, old school YouTube terminology. And I think it just provides like a nice glow, number one, and keeps you looking naturally tanned without having to sit outside, because I used to have the patience for it and now I don't. So highly recommend this tanner. I think the issue with the body tanner is always just going to be like my own error. I'm lazy, so it doesn't ever turn out well, but the face one is kind of dummy proof, or at least Julia proof. Now, I have been obsessed with this nail polish. This nail polish reminds me of high school. Maybe the theme of this is that I'm just very nostalgic, but this nail polish color in particular reminds me of high school, because it reminds me of, I had a friend at the time who was really into nail polish, and she used to always wear this color or a similar color, and it's called Bikini So Teeny by Essie, and I think that's the cutest name in the world. I have been wearing this on my toes all summer. It's just the perfect color. I really love it. Let's do a quick mention for activities, I guess. I don't know what to call this. I've been loving sending a voice note. I always love sending a voice note, but in the past month, I've been loving sending a voice note in the place of a text. So if it's a birthday, if it's a thank you, if it's a something that you just want to like send something that sends how you feel. Does that make sense? I love sending a voice note. Just even to say like thank you. A lot of my friends got a voice note, unless I thought that they would not want one. So I would send them a thank you voice note, especially if they reached out for my birthday or whatever. I love a voice note. Same page. I'm loving writing cards. They're really sweet, and I think that it's something a little extra, a little personalized you can add in. I keep a pack of just random cards that I can use for different occasions. So it's not like you always have to worry about running to buy a card, but you can always personalize the message in it. I've also been really enjoying making coffee syrups. I tried a banana syrup, like caramelized banana syrup, whatever. That's been all over my TikTok. Turned out well. I will say banana is not a flavor that I crave often, so it's taking a little bit of time to get through it, but it turned out delicious, and when I add it to my coffees, it's like a little fun thing to just spruce up a latte. I typically drink 2 coffees a day, so I like to have like a fun one, and then just a regular, I would like a coffee one, if that makes sense. And I think it's just a good way to practice baking things and just like feeling like you don't have to go out and buy something new, and B, it's just a fun way to like use ingredients in a way that I don't typically think about them. So like banana and a coffee is so random, but turned out well. I've been loving scrolling Libby. I did in fact buy myself a Kobo. I got the Clara color, I think. I have a pop socket on it. I am enjoying reading on it. I did decide to do it because a lot of the library books, the physical library books available to me didn't always include, or how should I say, a lot of the books that I wanted to read at the library weren't always available in a physical copy, and I don't always want to buy them, so I think a Kobo was a good option for that. I decided on a Kobo just because I've always had a Kobo. I've never gotten a Kindle, so I'm a little bit brand loyal to a Kobo, and I like that you can sign up with Overdrive and Libby and then just browse books and put them on here, assuming that your library has access to that. And yeah, I think it's a good, easy way for me to read versus constantly searching around for books. But that is what I decided to do. Let's talk about movies. If your TikTok is like mine, you have been inundated with Summerween. And I don't like that we're commercializing Summerween, I'll be honest. I really liked Gravity Falls. I was a big fan of the Summerween concept when I first heard about it. I think that's where it started. And I love to rewatch Gravity Falls. But in terms of actual movies, I do want to watch more movies in general. I feel like I tend to rewatch the same shows all the time. So finding movies that can be broken up, number one, and that are different and I've never thought to watch has been a pastime for me. And I was sick earlier in July, and it was a good way to just like have an activity at home while also resting. So in terms of movies, I watched quite a few this month, which is way more than I usually watch. I watched Fear Street Prom Queen. It was fine. Let me preface that. All three of these movies were fine. I enjoyed them enough to watch them and finish them, but I think these horror movies are quite campy. So keep that in mind. I like a campy movie. I don't want to be scared. I also watched Lake Placid. I was very surprised to learn that Lake Placid was not actually set in New York. It is in fact not the New York Lake Placid where I've been. And again, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time. It was very campy. It was very silly. There were a few jump scares, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a scary movie. And to round us out, we watched As Above, So Below. I've heard a lot about this movie. I know people love this movie. Like, they love to hate this movie. And I definitely thought it was, again, silly. The acting is not great. I don't feel like any of it really made sense, to be honest. I learned Nicholas Flamel is a real person. And that was the biggest shock to me. And I just had a good time. Like, I had a really good time. I've been really liking Spooky Reels. Her name is Brittany, I think, on TikTok. She shares horror recommendations, and her thing is like, I love good horror, I love bad horror, and I think anybody who can get behind a bad movie is like my type of person. I don't necessarily need it to be a good movie. I need to be entertained. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be scared in my mind, usually. I want to simply be entertained and just like have a good time. And I feel like every Friday she posts on her TikTok, like, you're in the mood to watch a scary movie this weekend. Here's what you're gonna watch. And every time I take a recommendation from her, I did get back into my like superhero movies this month, very much so, now that I'm looking at the list. Watched Thunderbolts. I liked it. I like Florence Pugh. I like David Harbour. Why wouldn't I like it? You know? That's probably one of the only Marvel movies recently that I felt like has given me the same energy as the Avengers. Maybe because it's trying to emulate that in a way, but it's got familiar characters, so that's probably why. And I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was good to watch. I enjoyed it. Watched Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. Again, we were sick. Fell asleep during 2. It's fine. 1 is top tier. Watching it back, you really do realize how hard they're pushing this like military agenda. And I feel like a lot of people are like, obviously, that's the point of the movie. But I haven't seen it in a while, and I was like, oh yeah, this is very much what's happening. And number 3, listen, Robert Downey Jr. is just so good at being Iron Man. I'm a little hesitant about him playing Doctor Doom. I always want to call him MF Doom. Again, don't yell. I'm not big on the history of Marvel, but I'm interested to see what happens next. I will be there. I will be watching the movies. Just depends if I'll be watching them at home or like in theater. Watched Captain America Civil War. That is the best, one of the best movies, a part of that phase of the MCU in my opinion. Maybe because we were intro to Black Panther and I think his intro is so incredibly hard. Like the way he comes in is like, I'm about business. And I personally am not on Captain America's side for this, and I never will be. So I think I enjoy the fact that we're like, there is actual tension here that I can get on board with. Watch Thor Ragnarok. We're jumping around here. We did not go in order. A great movie. I really like Thor Ragnarok. I did fall asleep during the first half, but I finished the second half and it was great. I remember it being great. And then we watched Fantastic Four, First Steps in theaters. Again, I really enjoyed it. I don't know much about Fantastic Four. I remember seeing a previous iteration a long time ago and I remember thinking it was fine. So this one was great. I think Vanessa Kirby's eyebrows are the real star of the show. And I'm excited to see what happens next with them. I think that Eben, I can't remember how you pronounce his name, Eben Moss Backrack is just playing cousin, but I'm told that that is how his character also acts, so, you know. And then finally, we watched Jurassic Park Rebirth. I love Jurassic Park. I don't think I needed to see that movie, but I enjoyed it. I think my movie watching experience was the problem because I went on a Tuesday when things are cheaper and I shouldn't have done that. That was my mistake. Books-wise, I finished one book. I told you I'm not an incredibly fast reader anymore. And it was Disappoint Me by Nicola Dinan. I really enjoyed it. I thought the ending was great. It leaves things not necessarily open-ended, but you kind of go through Max's thought process of where she's going to move forward. And forgiveness is a theme throughout the novel, as well as just like family and friendships and relying on those people in your life. And I think that's always something that I like to read about and understanding how these relationships continue to evolve. And I didn't really think about the fact that there are a lot of descriptive elements about food, and I do tend to like books that are descriptive with food and cooking, and I think those were just like nice points for me to get through and like to progress the story. I'm interested in reading Bellies, which is her other book. Right now I'm reading Me Talk Pretty One Day, which I've spoken about a few times, and then kind of going through things on my Kobo. Let's wrap this up with two YouTubers that I've been loving. I already mentioned Mickey at the beginning, but I think Mickey's videos are excellent. This one that most recently went up a week ago about balance and sacrifice in terms of like creating while living in capitalism is interesting to me because you have to think about, in order to like be creative in this, you have to make the time for it. And I think that's why I've struggled so hard with doing the artist way, because I just, every time I start, I'm like, this is so overwhelming. And I think making the time for creativity and like practicing that muscle is something that I've consistently thought about. And the way she kind of like explains her thought process through it is very interesting to me. And I know it's a topic that I see on Substack a lot, but honestly, I find Substack overwhelming a lot of the time just because there's so much happening on there, and then it's easy to get overwhelmed with like leisure. And I remember watching a TikTok of all things a while ago about being overwhelmed by leisurely activities and how that doesn't really make sense. So I try to remind myself of that when I'm in the process of being overwhelmed by like watching movies or TV shows or reading and wanting to do all these things, just like coming back to it. I mean, like, these are leisurely activities. There will always be time for them. You just have to make the time. Another mention is Jess, who again, I have been watching for a little while now. She does this style of video as well. And I really enjoy the idea of just talking through either media or vlogging or just providing commentary on different things. I follow her on Substack. I follow her on TikTok, where I think she's a little bit more active. And alright, y'all. Well, that will wrap up this video. Thank you for watching, as I just rambled on about things I like. Let me know if you have any recommendations for me. Things I should watch, read, try, do. I'd love to hear them. See you next time.